Welcome back to another episode of the Outsider Sports Baseball Podcast. Corey Jason, John Pauline bringing you some AL and NL Central talk. First off, first things, we did have a couple things happen in the baseball world. No, Juan Soto did not sign anywhere. I'm patiently waiting. Did see something that the Phillies haven't even checked in on him. So, John, what's up with that?
I don't know because it seems like they're like trying to free up room for him and space for him. I mean, because you hear that Alec Boehm's on the trade block and Castellanos is up for trade. So I mean, seems like they're freeing space up to make a move, and he's linked to Soto, but I guess they haven't given him a contract yet
Yeah,
or offered him a
they haven't
contract.
even met with them. And apparently he's down to maybe 5 teams with the Dodgers, Red Sox, Blue Jays, Yankees, and Mets as the remaining teams left. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. But Yusei Kikuchi, he signed with the Angels, 3 years, $63 million. Went from the Astros to the in-division Angels. Travis d'Arnaud, like we mentioned last week, he also signed with the Angels, 2 for 12. Austin Hedges went back to Cleveland, 1 year, $4 million. But there was a big trade. John, the Royals and Reds did a little swap. The Reds, they got starter Brady Singer, a very good pitcher. And the Royals, they get Jonathan India to take over that, infield spot they had open. Plus, an outfielder in Jody Weimer. Joey Weimer is a good player, not so much a throw-in, but India, he's going to be a free agent soon. Not quite now, but he can play a little leadoff. He could hit a little deeper. He's very streaky, but he's a really good player. He's somebody that profiled very similarly to Gleyber Torres, who I thought might end up as a Royal because of what he can bring to the table. Who do you think won this trade after your initial, look at it?
I mean, honestly, looking at it, it's like I feel like the Reds kind of almost did,
Singer's
considering
a
like
really good player.
you got a solid pitcher. I mean, I feel like they're kind of crowded already out there in the outfield, so they you know dump some guys off, dumped Indy off, because I feel like you don't they have people there to fill in and come in and replace. So I feel like they're kind of
Right.
crowded, but like you always need pitching. I feel like especially this season, like you need pitching. So like adding another arm to that rotation, I mean, is fantastic, especially someone who's, as solid and good as Singer.
So we'll touch a bit on what this means for the Royals and the Reds in a bit. I want to start off with the best team out of the 10 we'll be talking about today, the number 2 seed in the American League, Stephen Vogt's Cleveland Guardians. They have a couple free agents. Starter Shane Bieber, Alex Cobb, Carlos Carrasco, Matt Boyd. That's literally like four out of their like best 6 starters. They got to rebuild the rotation. I know Bieber was out and hurt all year. Carrasco didn't really contribute too much, but still, those are names that could eat some innings for teams. They do need starting pitching, with that said. They could also use a center fielder to get Lane Thomas over a spot and a big bat. They've been talking about trading Josh Naylor. Bo Naylor hasn't really been the catcher that they've wanted. They might be done with the Naylor family in general. They need a big bat. So, among those free agents out there, I guess my question to you is, do you think they'll look to move a Josh Naylor? And what do you think he's worth? Like, is he a prospect trade? Will somebody pay big money for him and trade, some major league ready talent? Because he has the ability, but he just hasn't put it all together completely yet.
I feel like if you're gonna trade him, like if he's gonna draw any interest, it's gonna be probably for some prospects. I feel like you said, he has a talent, but he hasn't put it all together. So you're like kind of banking on you get him and you can have him put it all together. So I feel like
Right.
you don't want to give up too much, but you only give some up. But it's like, I mean, I don't even know who would go after him. I'm trying to think because it's like
A
a lot
team
of
I
because
was
it's
thinking of would be like the Cardinals.
yeah, because they need to like what was it? They need younger players on their team.
They do. They need
Yes.
first base help. The Pirates are another team that could look to go for him. They have plenty of prospects that they can get for him. They also need first base. Naylor's not really in control where he can demand to go to a winner. He'll go to any team that has him. So among teams we'll talk about later, I think the Cardinals and the Pirates are really good options. But Guardians are in an interesting spot because there's two teams hot on their tail, and the Guardians aren't guaranteed to win their division or even finish in the top two. You have the Tigers and the Royals who are very hot and up and coming, and might have a better roster than the Guardians. They might have gotten lucky this year with the very weak AL that they were the 2 seed, but I'm interested to see what they do, and I'd like to see them bring back like a Shane Bieber or even go after like a Corbin Burns or a high-end starter. Nathan Eovaldi would be great on this roster, bring some veteran playoff leadership, but that's kind of what they need.
I mean, if the Guardians want to stay competitive in the AL Central, they're gonna need to start, bringing a couple guys in because I mean the Tigers and the Royals are only gonna get better, and they have a lot of young talent coming up, and they're only gonna get better. So it's like you need to start, you know,
Right.
bringing people in now too, because if
Next
not,
up
you're gonna get kind of left behind.
next up is the Tigers, and really their only free agent of note would be Shelby Miller, the reliever. They do need corner infield help. They need a righty bat, starting pitching. So going after a guy like Tyler O'Neill, Walker Bueller, a Shane Bieber to rebuild, Matt Boyd, who they had, bring him back home. Go back after, a Jack Flaherty, who they traded away. These are guys that they could go after if they really want to pay for Corbin Burns, a high end starter, a trade for Marcus Stroman, somebody who's a veteran that'll eat innings. My big question, though, regarding them is do you buy what they did at the end of 2024? Are they really one of the best 8 teams, best 10 teams in all of baseball?
I
Should they
don't
go
know.
for it, or are they another year away where they should plan all their free agency moves around 2026 and not 2025?
I feel like last year we talked about like the Tigers being a year away and like the Royals being a year away and a lot of these teams being a year away, right? And
Yeah.
I feel like they've kind of arrived early anyway. I feel like they're here already. So
So may as well just go for it
just
now.
go for it. I mean, just go for it. I mean, he's might as well. I mean, like you have a young team. Not a lot of free agents. Might as well just go for it now. I mean,
You're right.
go for it now.
So moving off the Tigers, who they just have a lot of stuff they need to do. They need to figure out the Javi Baez's of the world, fix Torkelson, figure out that relieving. They have a great manager, so they're going to be fine. But then you go on the flip side, you have the Royals. Again, they made that move where they brought in India and Weimer. They're going to lose possibly reliever Will Smith. They're going to lose Adam Frazier, a second baseman, Mike Lorenzen, a starter, Tommy Pham, who brought that veteran energy in the outfield, Paul DeJong, a shortstop. They need a leadoff hitter. Did they get that in India? That's a big question. They need outfield help. They need relievers. So could they go after like a Jerks and Profar, who I think would be a fantastic fit on that team? Could they go after like a Santander or even a Michael Conforto, who I think would be really good there because he can play like left field, and they both have, they all have pretty big bats that'll, help there.
I mean, I don't know if you saw. I mean, the Royals were linked to. At least I saw Alec Boehm. At least they were showing interest in him. So
If the Phillies traded Alec Boehm to the Royals, what type of return would you be looking for? And no, you can't have Bobby Witt.
honestly, I don't know because most likely if you trade Boehm to the Royals, it's probably going to be. I would at least my thing. I'd want some kind of relief pitching or pitching.
which they don't really have too much of.
So I don't know. I mean, unless you're probably maybe just go for the prospect thing. Get prospects.
Are we seeing the end of this Phillies dynasty already, where they're going to look to almost do a quick rebuild?
So I think what they're doing, because if you look at like the Phillies back, from like the '04, like '06, all the way up to like 2011, I think they waited too long to let go of players, and their team got old really quick, and they held on too quick. So now they're trying to turn and flip players before it gets to
Right.
that. I mean, that's why you see Castellanos maybe on the trade block.
So do we like Bohm or Castellanos' fit with the Royals?
I mean, you said was it? I mean, did you say like the Royals needed a corner outfield help?
Well, they needed an out. They just need outfield help in general.
I mean, Castellanos a right-handed bat, outfielder, and I think he's above average.
Veteran energy right
Yeah,
there.
I mean,
Wouldn't cost too much with that contract.
so
I like it. I think that's something that we need to get them on the horn with and negotiate for ourselves. Next team up, though, will be the Minnesota Twins. They're losing starter Anthony Desclafani, Max Kepler, the right fielder, Carlos Santana, the popular first base option. They need a right-handed batting right fielder. I wonder where we just heard that. They need first base help. They need relief pitching. Everybody needs relief pitching. So a Castellanos is an option for that right-handed right fielder. Some other ones, though, a Taylor Ward or a Yandy Diaz. Is there anybody out there outside of what we just named that you think could be a good fit for the Twins? They're kind of in limbo as that fourth best team.
do you trade for Bohm and move him to first?
I don't think they'd want to at that point.
He's a power bat.
Is he a power bat or is he a doubles merchant?
He was in the home run derby. Okay.
Is he a power bat or is he a doubles merchant? I've seen Nick Swisher in the home run derby. There's always one every year. The Twins are an interesting case because they're kind of stuck in the back. They should look to almost trade everything off and rebuild because they have three teams ahead of them. They just don't have the talent or even the farm system, really. An interesting name out there is like a Royce Lewis for them to move because he can't stay healthy. But on a big competitive team, they can get a really nice return for him as a power hitting, third baseman. He's somebody I can see a lot of teams needing and wanting to kind of hold it there, and they can maybe try to fix his health issues.
I mean, I agree with you because I mean, like with the Twins, I mean, just maybe full rebuild. I mean, because Royals passed you, Tigers passed you, Guardians passed you, and it's like,
You know who's not going to pass them? Next team on our list.
would it am I gonna mess this up? The White Sox?
The White Sox.
The White Sox. I mean, you almost forget about them, honestly.
You do.
Almost like
They're losing Yoel Moncada, third baseman, Max Stassi, a catcher, Nicky Lopez, a third baseman, Mike Soroka, a starter, Mike Clevenger, a starter, among some others. They need a complete. What their needs are is a
whole
competent
new
owner and front office.
just a
They
whole
need
new
veterans,
team.
but they also need to play their young guys. The biggest thing, though, they need to trade away Luis Robert. Oh, and Garrett Crochet.
Now Garrett Crochet, I've heard the Phillies might be in talks and looking at him.
I mean, every team is in
I
talks.
think every team is.
Every team loves what he brings, how much control he has. They can get a haul for Crochet.
They're going to get a lot. They're going to get a lot for him.
What if you're the Phillies GM, what are you giving the White Sox for Crochet?
I mean, honestly, you can probably give him Alec Boehm, and then honestly, they have a plethora of outfield prospects.
They don't want Alec Boehm. They
might want Alec Boehm.
They don't want Alec Boehm. They want prospects.
Well, they have a plethora of outfield prospects. I mean, you got Justin Crawford, you got all these outfielder prospects.
They want pitching prospects. They want outfield prospects. They want infield prospects. They want the whole damn team.
I mean, the Phillies have some to give up. I mean, if they want to move on from, I mean, they can move on from. I don't know if the Phillies want to move on from Painter, but I mean, do you do the Phillies like? Do they just say okay, like move on from Painter and then a couple other guys and be like, then get a guy that you know is already
A stud.
yeah, like that's already good.
I think that's very possible. They're going to get a haul for Crochet, but even Robert, he's had some injury issues, but he's still a great, great player. And I just wonder what they can get for Luis Robert because a few years ago, he was, the next big thing. He hit 224 this year, 14 home runs, 35 RBIs. But, he only played, what was it? He played 100 games. So he didn't play all that much. He's just a year removed in 2023 from getting an MVP vote, was an all-star, silver slugger. His rookie year in 2020, he came in second of the rookie of the year voting and won a gold glove. He's never been a high batting average guy, 56 games his rookie year, he hit 233. 68 games in 2021, he hit 338. 98 games in 2022, he hit 284. So he's not somebody that plays a lot of games, albeit 2020 was a 60-game season. 2023, he played the most games of his career, and that was only 145, and he hit 264. So 100 games this year, hitting 224. He's somebody who will be, again, in his age 27 season, he's a career 267 hitter over his 5 years. He needs a team to keep him healthy and unlock him. A team like, I don't know, Boston would be a good fit for him. The Mets could use him, I would think.
I can really see the Mets going after him.
I think the Braves are another one that could use his services. I mean, the Padres to have him replace Profar. The Dodgers can always figure out how to scoop him in there. They're just, the rich getting richer. The Astros, the Mariners, the Rangers, a lot of teams we mentioned last week. Even in the National League side, like, the Brewers can probably, they don't need him, but they could always look to try to get him. The Pirates, because, again, he doesn't have to go to a good team, even though those are the ones that are going to look to trade for him. They won't trade him in division. But the Cardinals might convince themselves that they're going to compete. He would fit fantastic with them as an outfielder. What do you think? Where, if you had to pick one spot you think Robert would go, where would it be?
I'm really feeling the Mets. I don't know what about. I really feel the Mets because I feel like I feel like they can get him fairly cheaply, considering like
No, not
not
cheaply.
cheaply, but I feel like because you have an off year, like and sometimes that drives the value down just a little bit.
They might keep him at that point, look to trade him at the deadline if he can play well.
I mean, you might. The thing is, do you get more from him at the deadline, or do you get more from him like before the
I think they want to get rid of him, to be honest. I think they want him gone now. I don't think he'll be a White Sox come, opening day. I don't think he'll be a White Sox come spring training. I think he's somebody that'll get moved at the winter meetings in December.
The thing is, I feel like a lot of these trades and stuff we're talking about, especially for some of the stuff, I feel like a lot of this stuff maybe might not start happening until Soto gets signed.
Oh, 100%.
Just because I think some of the teams that would be in the market for him and some of these other guys are probably in the market for maybe Soto and probably gonna wait to see where he goes and then
Right.
fill in the spots then.
So that's going to do it for the AL Central. Let's move on to the NL. And I want to start off with the other end of that, Springer India trade. That's the Reds. They have Jake Jonas as a reliever who they could lose. Ty France, the first baseman. Luke Maley, the catcher. Buck Farmer, the reliever. Ahmed Rosario, the shortstop. And again, they need outfielders. They need starters. They need a DH. They're not going to be a great team. So a lot of the bigger name guys aren't going to go there. necessarily, but if they're willing to pay, a Santander definitely could. I can see a Conforto
I
or a
feel like you're
Profar
sleeping on the Reds a little bit here.
a little bit. They definitely need starting pitching to go along with Hunter Green and Brady Singer now.
I think they still have the pitching. I think they still have some other guys there. I mean, they have what do they have? Abbott still, and I mean he's not terrible.
I am a big Hunter Green guy though.
Hunter Green is he might win. Maybe I think he might be going for a Cy Young award in the future.
I hope so. I bet him
I,
every
I,
year.
I but I think you're sleeping a little bit on the Reds here. Like I think their pitching is better than I think the pitching's better.
You think?
I think it is. I think it's like better than I don't think it's as bad as you say it is, like you think it is.
I hope you're right. I like the Reds, but I just think they need a little too much. And both Centrals, especially the NL Central, are a lot weaker compared to their other counterparts. So I don't know. They're kind of a division that'll get the second tier. The Reds, especially as a team, they'll get that next tier players. They can bring in like a Paul Goldschmidt to DH, you know, just to get at bats. I'm surprised they didn't bring back Joey Votto to do that. They're a team that I think could, make some interesting trades, but they kind of want to keep that prospect list tight to them and bring up their own guys because they want to be able to have a big window. I just don't know if the Reds have what it takes to even beat the Pirates now, who have such a deadly starting rotation led by Paul Skeens.
The Pirates are looking scared. They're looking really good, and I almost feel like they're just a few bats away from being like really scary.
Yeah, I mean, they're Pirates. They're losing Aroldis Chapman, the reliever, Andrew McCutchen, the all-time Pirate great outfielder, Yasmani Grandal, the catcher. They cut Connor Joe, the left fielder. So they need that first base, that corner outfield, that relief pitcher. Another team that Philly great Nick Castellanos would fit in well as a corner outfielder. A Luis Robert they could make a move for if they actually decide they want to go for it, which I kind of doubt.
Get Josh Naylor.
A Josh Naylor, yeah,
Naylor.
that's exactly what I have written down here.
I mean,
Naylor or Ryan Mountcastle.
that's a
Who do you,
that's a. I like that one.
they can also bring in, a lot of guys that could really fit here. A Paul Goldschmidt can get some playing time there. A Joey Votto can sign there and get some time if he doesn't want to retire quite yet.
I mean, I think if you're the Pirates, you're just looking for
Anthony
any
Rizzo
bats.
and Anthony Rizzo to bring some veteran leadership.
I mean, if you're the Pirates, I mean, you're looking for any bats you can get. Like, I don't really think whether it be long term or short term, like you're
Right.
just you want bats.
You need to compete while you have schemes because as an organization you're not going to lock them up just because that's just not something you ever do.
Maybe they do with him though,
I mean, they wouldn't do it with
with
Garrett
Cole.
Cole or Jamison Tyone. It's just not what they
But
do.
you'd have to expect they'd have to lock up at least like Jared Jones
I don't think they
or
will.
Skeens, but it just seems like they're okay with letting these guys come up and then go.
6 years from now, 5 years from now, they won't be on the Pirates, either of them. But the next team, though, I do want to talk about would be the St. Louis Cardinals. They're going to lose Paul Goldschmidt, the first baseman, Kyle Gibson, Lance Lynn are starters, Kenyon Middleton, the reliever, Matt Carpenter, the DH. They need starting pitching, given that they're losing a lot of the old guys, outfield, relief pitching. My big question, though, is where does Paul Goldschmidt go, and what do they do about Nolan Arenado?
I saw something today, like literally a little bit before we got about Arenado going to the Phillies, and like from I don't know if you saw it, it was like a proposed trade. It was like Arenado to the Phillies, and like it was some weird trade, and it's like I don't know, but
Everybody to the Phillies.
everyone to the Phillies are a hot topic because I think this offseason. But I mean the key thing for like the Cardinals is they need to get younger. They
They
need
need to
to get
absolutely.
younger.
We said it last offseason that when they signed all these older arms, that they're going in the wrong direction.
Yeah, they need to get. They need to like offload Aaron. They need to offload Aaron. They need to offload all their old players. Like you need to get younger.
So where do you think Goldschmidt ends up?
See,
37, 38 years old.
I mean, if we talk about the Pirates, I can see him going to the Pirates there. I can see him because I mean I don't think he's probably gonna end up being a DH. Like I don't see him really playing in the field. This thing, so I mean honestly, whoever really needs a bat, and I feel I honestly can see him just kind of moving over there to the Pirates a little bit. You know,
You think?
yeah, I mean I'm trying to think who I'm like going through all the teams like, maybe I'm trying to think who else would need trying to I'm going through the teams. Oh no, I can't even think.
How about Nolan
Yes.
Arenado? He's 34. This will be his age 34 season. He's under contract for this season, upcoming, and then 2 more after that. He'll be a free agent after the 2027 season. Do you think some team's going to try to trade for him? Can he be a third baseman long term at this point? He came out today and said he'd be willing to play first base for a team.
Ooh.
What type of fit do you think they have for him?
I don't like I feel like I just like how many teams are willing to get older though and trade for older players? Because I just feel like that never really I feel like it never works out the way you expect it to work out.
It doesn't. It never does.
Like it never does, and it's like how much are they gonna be asking? Like because for some reason I feel like they're gonna be asking a lot for them, and it's just like no one's gonna be willing to trade. I mean, I can almost see maybe getting I can almost see them maybe, like, trading him at the deadline to a team that needs to fill, like, a spot or something where
Right.
someone got hurt.
They're not going to get much
Like,
back
I
for him, and they might even have to eat money to
yeah, I just I don't see anyone trading for him, maybe if he was a little, a few years younger,
right. But he's
sure,
not
but
34, 35.
yeah, I that's just a lot to feed, and it's like I mean, there's a lot of teams that, like, can use a player like him, but it's like, do you really wanna trade, prospects or guys away to
Right.
get like a short term, solution to your need there. I mean, unless like a team for some reason thinks they're like one third baseman away or
Right.
Arenado
Right.
away
Which
from
I mean,
competing.
Arenado's losing his step a little bit. It feels
Yeah, so I don't I can't even I want to say a team to say, it, but I don't see anyone really.
next thing though is I do want to talk about the Cubs. Drew Smiley, the starter, Patrick Wisdom, third baseman, are free agents. They do need starting pitching, relief pitching, catcher help. Plus, the big question for me: do they trade Cody Bellinger and or Nico Horner? What do you think?
Um, I think the question you got to ask is if the Cubs think that they can compete to win next year. If they think that they can win the division. I mean, because I think if they think they can
Right.
win a division, they're holding on to them. If they don't think they can, they probably get rid of them. And because it's so early right now, like I mean, you have no idea. I feel like it's going to be like this year, where it's going to wait till the deadline if they're going to be by,
Right. But do you think a Bellinger or Horner move can come before the season? Like, is that really the
I
Cubs?
think Bellinger.
They're not good
I,
enough to
I
win.
think a Bellinger move you can see.
You think a Bellinger move
I
you can
think a
see?
Bellinger move.
Where to? He could play outfield and first base, and we've heard a lot of
I mean,
outfield.
a lot. I mean, like it's almost the thing is, it's like almost any team. I mean, I can even see like I don't know. I'm trying to think. Like, I mean, you can go like do the Yankees if
I
they don't
mean,
get
there's a
Soto.
fit.
I
There's
mean,
definitely a fit.
do the Yankees go after him if they can't sign Soto? Do the Mets go after him if they can't sign Soto? Like, do all these teams in the Soto sweepstake go after Bellinger if they can't sign Soto?
It's
Do
possible.
the
I don't
Dodgers try to
necessarily
get
know if they
Bellinger?
will because he's going to end up being a first baseman longer than an outfielder. And when you're going for Soto, you're looking for an outfielder. That this is just a first baseman that can play a bit of outfield. You're not going to let him play, center for too much longer. He'll fill in
But I
games out
feel like you can move him to a corner fielding position, and he can play there for a little bit longer before you move him to first. Like I don't see why you can't move Bellinger to to a corner fielding position.
there. Right.
Like I.
And then lastly, though, I do want to talk about the Milwaukee Brewers. They got upset by the Mets in the wild card round, did win their division, but they're losing Frankie Montas, one of their starters. Willie Adames, one of their shortstop. That's one of the big name free agents out there. Another starter in Wade Miley, plus Gary Sanchez, the catcher DH. They need shortstop, second base, and third base. Plus, Devin Williams is in a lot of trade talks. A lot of top teams can use a reliever. I know the Phillies can, the Yankees can, the Mets can. All these good teams, even Cleveland, with their great bullpen, can use another arm as well. So, do the Brewers keep it going, or is this the end of what's been a great run from an NL Central team, and they kind of give it up to the next generation of guys?
I mean, they had some guys come up this year though. I mean, the Brewers. So I mean, what they had Jackson Chiro, right?
Right.
So I mean, you have to say they have some guys coming up and stuff, but it's like I mean, if they move Devin Williams, I think that's like I think they're kind of moving on. If you see them move on, look
We
for
thought
them to move on with
we
more
thought that
people.
when they traded Josh Hader,
But
and that wasn't the
yeah, but they
case.
had Devin Williams though. I mean, they traded Josh Hader, but they had Devin Williams still there. So it's like you still had your closer, but you trade away Devin Williams,
Really good.
who's there. That's going to take the place because like at that point, Devin Williams was still really good, and Hader was really good. So like I felt like you weren't really losing that much. You just were losing a little
Right.
bit more depth. But you move Williams, that's like you're basically just giving up your.
So if
You're
I
like
put
we're
you on
out.
the spot right now, do they trade Devin Williams? What do you say?
I would say no. I'm going to say no. I say like probably in a lot of trade talks because he's probably in a lot of trade talks because everyone's looking for a reliever, and the Brewers are one of those teams that can be kind of in or out,
Right.
right? So I mean, you're going to hear a lot. They're going to get a lot of interest from teams, but I think they keep it because I think you go this far. I mean, they've been like basically locked up. I feel like the NL Central forever now. For it feels like.
A few years they have back.
Yeah, so
They
it's
had a
like
great rotation with Burns.
and a lot of these other teams, like they need a lot of pieces still. I mean, we talked like that the Pirates are going to be good, but they're still missing stuff. Same thing with the Reds
Right.
and stuff. So it's like uh, I feel like they don't. I feel like they're going to hold out a little bit longer.
Yeah, you think they'll hold on to him a bit longer?
I think. I mean, because relief pitching's like I mean, unless like they get some kind of crazy haul for him, which they might. But I mean, like
They should.
relief pitching's hard to come by, especially good relief pitching and stuff. And I feel like if you have one, you kind of want to hold on to them. Unless unless you're completely out of it. Like,
Right. I mean, they'll have Brandon Woodruff coming back too.
yeah. Because I mean, if you're a team like the Athletics with their closer, like I feel like you'd be one to you'd be one to move him like crazy, Miller. Like you'd be one
He would fetch a high price too.
like like that. Because they're like completely out of it. I feel like the Athletic like they're not like because they ever feel like they want to compete. So like if you look at a team like the Athletics with that, that like you'd feel like I'd be like Yeah, he's gone, but the Brewers don't seem like they're, done. So I can't say like he'd be gone, but it wouldn't be surprising.
Right.
So, because I mean, if someone dangles like a boatload of prospects there, I mean, like it's hard to say no.
So, out of all 10 teams we talked about, what is your biggest prediction for any single team we talked about? If you had to give me one prediction.
Let me think. Oh man, you put me on the spot here.
I want the
You
gut
put a spot.
reaction. Like for me, I think the Brewers do trade Devin Williams. That'll be my big
That's your
prediction.
big one.
But you can't take it now. You got to think for your own one.
I got nah. Let's see. I think the White Sox hold on to Garrett Crochet and Baez.
Yeah.
I do.
Why do you think that?
I think they're gonna build around them. I think they're gonna keep them and use them as pieces and not, like hold on to them and kind of building around.
All right.
Because you need a foundation,
You do. You always need a foundation.
and that's your foundation there, and you have them for a while, so you might,
Might as well.
start building around them.
All right. Well, that's going to do it for us. Next week's going to be some AL, NL East talk. We should have a full house when we go do that.
A lot more to say about that stuff too.
Maybe we'll have Soto. Maybe we won't. Probably not. But that's going to do it here. Corey, Jason, John, Pauline. This has been your AL and NL Central free agency and just look ahead to 2025 preview. Keep tuning in next week. AL and NL East, Yankee, Mets, Soto, Phillies, all that good stuff. Signing off.